My methods were deemed obsolete and inefficient, the statement hanging in the air as he glanced past me at his framed certification. We require contemporary strategies, he added. My name is Lewis, and until a mere 20 minutes prior, I held the title of Senior Systems Architect at the esteemed Grace Memorial Hospital, situated in the heart of Springfield, Illinois. 15 years I dedicated to safeguarding the digital infrastructure of this 400-bed facility, a legacy erased in a swift, 25-minute conference. Mr. Charles Baker, a man of 45 years with an MBA and scant medical expertise, sat behind what was once Dr. Anderson's desk. Appointed as our new director just 5 months prior, he was already wielding the axe. Beside him, his consultant, Mr. David Miller, tapped away at his smartphone, likely updating his professional profile online before my departure was even finalized. The external consulting group will manage the transition to a cloud-based framework, Charles announced, his voice devoid of any empathy. A severance package, equivalent to 3 months' salary, along with a standard non-disclosure agreement, has been prepared. I nodded, feeling the weight of my identification badge heavy against my chest. 15 years of unwavering service, and not once did a single system crash under my purview. Not during the notorious malware attack of 2019, not during the regional power outage of 2021, and certainly not even during the substantial budget cuts that forced me to work 90-hour weeks while simultaneously overseeing a staff reduction of 50%. Security personnel will accompany you to gather your personal belongings, Charles stated, pushing a file across the desk. We'll require your access card and login credentials. I detached my badge and placed it on the polished surface. All master passwords are securely stored on the encrypted drive, meticulously documented, I assured him. Excellent, Charles responded, a rare smile gracing his lips. I appreciate your cooperation, Lewis. Transformation is demanding, yet imperative. I caught sight of David, perhaps 32 years old, already moving to claim my vacated seat. Throughout his extensive 3-week assessment, he hadn't posed a single inquiry about our existing systems. Is there anything further? Charles inquired. I should have highlighted the customized security patches I developed. I should have mentioned the intricate integration between our legacy pharmaceutical system and patient records. I should have warned him about our specialized backup protocols. Instead, I simply said, no, nothing else. I exited the building escorted by security, passing nurses who had relied on me during those 3 a.m. system glitches, past the surgical scheduling desk where I personally reconstructed the database after a severe data breach. 15 years of silent, dependable dedication, now reduced to a memory. In the parking lot, I settled into my vehicle, placing a cardboard box containing family photos and cherished mugs on the passenger seat. I drove away without a backward glance. They hadn't sought my expertise, they desired my absence. It wouldn't be long before the gravity of their decision would become starkly clear. My employment at Grace Memorial commenced shortly after my 55th birthday. A career change from the private tech sector to healthcare wasn't my initial plan, but economic hardships combined with my wife, Sarah's, costly cancer treatments left me with few options. The hospital provided stability and comprehensive insurance, so I accepted the position and embarked on a journey to master the intricacies of medical systems. During those formative years, I collaborated closely with Dr. Anderson, the previous director. He possessed a profound understanding of what truly mattered. Sophisticated dashboards don't save lives, Lewis, he would often say. Reliability does. And so, I constructed reliable systems. Redundant backups, fail-safes, and manual overrides, when necessary. Not aesthetically pleasing, but virtually impenetrable. I forfeited vacations to upgrade the electronic prescription platform and even missed my daughter, Emily's, college graduation to address an urgent server migration. Sarah understood. You're saving lives, my dear, she would say, before the cancer claimed her 5 years ago. The hospital became my life, its staff, my extended family. Nurse Garcia in oncology always provided me with coffee during those long nights of system updates, and Dr. Ramirez in cardiology would share donuts on mornings following the resolution of critical issues. Even the custodian, Miguel, would keep me company during overnight maintenance periods. A shift occurred with Dr. Anderson's retirement last winter. The board recruited Mr. Baker from a prominent hospital network based in Boston. His first action? Scheduling an efficiency audit. I immediately noticed warning signs. Mr. Baker never attended IT briefings, never inquired about our system architecture, only offering impatient nods during meetings while continuously checking his watch. Then arrived David and his team of consultants, sporting matching attire and employing the latest industry jargon. Digital transformation, cloud migration, system modernization. I attempted to explain our customized setup. The patient record system interacts with 22 different platforms, I stressed. Some commercial, some custom-built. We've developed specialized. We've overseen countless hospital migrations, David interrupted, dismissing my concerns. This is all routine. The warnings intensified. Diagrams mapping our systems adorned conference room walls, yet crucial infrastructure components were completely omitted. Questions about critical connections remained unanswered, and my emails detailing security protocols received perfunctory acknowledgments, lacking any follow-up. One Friday, I discovered contractors measuring my office. Simply planning renovations, the contractor claimed, avoiding eye contact. That night, I updated my resume. A premonition urged me to prepare, yet I struggled to believe they would dismiss the one individual who possessed a comprehensive understanding of every system component. I was incorrect. They didn't simply desire a new system, they craved a new narrative, one without the seasoned professional who dared to remind them of inherent risks. 2 days after my dismissal, the stark reality hit me as I sat amidst job listings and unfinished takeout. My phone buzzed incessantly with messages from hospital staff. "What's the backup process for surgical scheduling again?" Alan from IT inquired. "Where's the configuration for the pharmacy interface?" Denise, the database administrator, asked. I didn't respond. My termination agreement explicitly prohibited unauthorized assistance. The realization wasn't one of satisfaction or relief, but a chilling certainty. They had no comprehension of what they had done. Our hospital systems weren't mere software. They were complex, interconnected entities I had nurtured for 15 years. Custom interfaces bridging incompatible vendor platforms, workarounds for regulatory compliance, and manual processes where automation had failed. I had documented everything, hundreds of pages of technical specifications, configuration notes, and emergency procedures meticulously filed on the secure drive. Yet, documentation couldn't replace understanding, couldn't replace 15 years of institutional knowledge, couldn't replace me. My phone rang. It was Charles. I sent the call to voicemail. "Ethan, we're having some integration issues with the pharmacy system. Just a quick question. Call me back." I deleted the message and poured another cup of coffee. 3 more calls followed that day, each increasingly urgent. I deleted them all. That evening, Dr. Ramirez called from his personal number. "Lewis, did you hear what happened today?" The emergency department couldn't access patient history for a trauma case. They had to contact previous hospitals directly. It took 40 minutes to obtain medication allergy information. I closed my eyes. "No one was hurt?" I asked, my voice strained. "Not this time," he responded. "But Charles's new team is struggling. They're discussing reverting to paper records temporarily." A strange calm settled over me. Not revenge, not satisfaction, just clarity. For 15 years, I had been invisible when things functioned flawlessly. My sleepless nights, missed family events, and constant vigilance had ensured the hospital's smooth operation, enabling doctors to treat patients, nurses to administer the correct medications, and ultimately, lives to be saved. My sole focus had been preserving the system's integrity. And now, the system was failing. "I'm sorry to hear that," I said, my tone carefully measured. "Charles has been asking for your personal contact information." "The consultant team seems overwhelmed," Dr. Ramirez continued. I contemplated the specialized backup server concealed behind a maintenance panel in the server room, the paper documentation stored in the fire safe in my old office, and the authentication chain set to expire in precisely 12 days without manual renewal. "I wish them luck," I said, before ending the call. After hanging up, I retrieved a business card I had kept for years. Jennifer Walsh, Director of Technology at City Central Medical. She'd attempted to recruit me 3 times over the years. I didn't seek revenge. I simply wanted an environment where my expertise was valued. I picked up the phone and dialed. Monday morning, my inbox exploded with 17 messages from Charles, their subject lines escalating in desperation. A quick question about the patient database. Urgent. Cardiology system failure. Critical. Need emergency assistance. I read them, but responded to none. My severance agreement didn't compel me to rectify their mess. The final email dropped all pretense. "Lewis, name your consulting rate. Whatever you want. We need you back ASAP." I was halfway through composing a formal rejection when my doorbell rang. Charles Baker stood on my porch, his tie askew, eyes bloodshot. Louis, he began, forcing a smile. Thanks for seeing me. Can we talk? I invited him in, offered coffee, and waited. We've encountered some unforeseen complications with the system transition, he commenced, clutching his mug. David's team is working tirelessly, but certain aspects of your architecture are proving exceptionally challenging to navigate. I nodded. I documented everything thoroughly. Yes, the documentation is there, but... He leaned forward. Some of these customizations, these interconnections between systems, they're quite unique. Translation, they couldn't decipher 15 years of specialized work in just 5 days. Yesterday, oncology lost access to treatment protocols for 6 hours, Charles continued. The day before, billing and insurance verification went down completely. We're facing serious compliance issues, potential patient safety concerns. I took a sip of my coffee. Sounds like the modernization is progressing well. His face tightened. Louis, I'm prepared to offer you a 6-month contract as an implementation consultant. Double your previous salary. We need you to help with the transition. The offer was almost insulting. After dismissing me, he expected me to return and properly train my replacements. I'm afraid I've already accepted another position, I stated calmly. Charles's coffee mug froze midair. Another? Where? City Central Medical. City Central, but they're our direct competitor. Charles set down his mug. Louis, be reasonable. You built these systems. You know them better than anyone. We're talking about patient care. That stung, precisely as intended. For 15 years, I had prioritized patient care above all else. My family, my health, my life. I agree, I said carefully. Patient care is paramount. That's why I cautioned against rushing a system migration without adequate transition planning. I believe that email is included in my documentation. Charles's face flushed. The board demanded immediate action. Modernization is essential for our long-term viability. I start at City Central next Monday, I interrupted. I wish you and your team the best of luck. He stood up, desperation replaced by anger. Your severance package includes a non-compete clause. You can't work for a competitor for 6 months. I smiled for the first time. Actually, it doesn't. I had my lawyer review it before signing. There's a non-disclosure agreement, but no non-compete. I'm free to work wherever I choose. Charles's expression darkened. This is about revenge, isn't it? Making us suffer because I let you go. I walked to the door and opened it. This is about finding an environment that values 15 years of expertise instead of dismissing it as outdated and inefficient. Good luck with your modernization, Director Baker. After he left, I finished my coffee. I didn't feel triumphant or vindictive, just weary and slightly saddened. My phone buzzed with a text from Dr. Ramirez, administration in full panic mode. 3 departments down, board emergency meeting called. I didn't reply, but I saved the message not as a trophy, but as a reminder of what happens when experience is deemed obsolete. By Thursday, the local news had picked up the story. System failures plague St. James Medical Center. Patient care affected. I watched from my living room as a reporter stood outside the hospital where I'd spent 15 years. My phone rang. Jennifer Walsh from City Central. Seeing the news about St. James, she said, "You doing okay?" "I'm fine," I replied, looking forward to starting Monday. About that, Jennifer said, "I just received a very intriguing call from someone on St. James's board, a Dr. Eleanor Vance." I remember Dr. Vance, head of surgery, one of the few board members who truly understood my team's contributions. What did she want? I asked. To verify you'd accepted our offer, Jennifer replied, and to share some compelling insights about the situation at St. James. What insights? Apparently, Director Baker didn't simply decide to replace you on a whim. He's been collaborating with Novatech Solutions for months. The name hit me like a punch. Novatech Solutions was a healthcare technology company notorious for acquiring control of hospital IT operations and then significantly increasing prices once systems became reliant on their proprietary platforms. Baker brought in their consultants as part of a larger deal, Jennifer continued. Novatech offered substantial upfront savings to the board if St. James transitioned to their platform. Baker would receive a performance bonus for cost reduction. The pieces fell into place. My dismissal wasn't about modernization. It was about clearing the path for a corporate takeover of our systems. The board hadn't fully grasped the technical ramifications. They trusted Baker's assessment that the transition would be seamless. I reflected on the specialized systems I'd built, systems that prioritized patient care over corporate efficiency, Systems designed to serve doctors and nurses, not billing departments. How bad is it really? I asked. Jennifer paused. Dr. Vance said they've had to divert emergency patients to other hospitals. Critical care units are operating on manual protocols. The state regulatory agency is investigating. I closed my eyes. This wasn't what I desired. I never intended for patients to suffer. There's more, Jennifer added. Dr. Vance mentioned that before presenting the Novatech proposal, Baker had all department heads sign off on a technology assessment. The assessment claimed that your systems were obsolete, non-compliant, and at high risk of failure. That's not true, I stated, anger finally erupting. We passed every compliance audit, had 99.99% uptime last year. Dr. Vance knows that now, Jennifer confirmed. The board is realizing they were misled. After hanging up, I opened my laptop and found an email from Dr. Vance herself, sent just an hour earlier. Lewis, I owe you an apology. The board approved Baker's IT restructuring based on incomplete and misleading information. We've since learned that the systems you maintained were, in fact, exceeding all industry benchmarks for reliability and security. Baker and Novatech presented us with false comparisons and manipulated performance metrics to justify the change. The situation has become so serious that we've called an emergency board meeting for tomorrow morning. I'd like to invite you to attend and share your perspective. No obligation, but many of us would appreciate hearing directly from you. Regardless of what you decide, I want you to know that many of us now understand the disservice that was done to you and to our hospital. Sincerely, Eleanor Vance, MD. I sat back, letting the truth sink in. This wasn't simply about firing a loyal employee. It was about deliberately dismantling a functioning system for profit. I arrived at the hospital boardroom Friday morning precisely 15 minutes early, just as I had for every meeting during my 15 years of service. Several board members were already present, including Dr. Vance, who greeted me with a handshake and a grateful nod. Thank you for coming, Lewis, she said. I wasn't sure you would. Neither was I admitted. The room quickly filled with department heads, administrators, and doctors I'd worked alongside for years. Baker arrived last, halting abruptly upon seeing me seated at the table. David trailed behind him, looking considerably less confident than the day I was dismissed. Dr. Vance called the meeting to order. We are here to address the ongoing system failures and to reassess our relationship with Novatech Solutions. She turned to me. Mr. Crowley has graciously agreed to provide his assessment of the situation. All eyes turned to me. For 15 years, I'd worked quietly behind the scenes, resolving problems without recognition. Now, I was center stage. The systems at St. James were built over 15 years to meet specific needs. I began. Every customization, every interface was created to address a genuine problem faced by medical staff. These weren't outdated systems, they were specialized tools. I opened my laptop and connected it to the projector. On the screen appeared the documentation I'd meticulously maintained, hundreds of pages detailing every aspect of the hospital's digital infrastructure. Everything required to maintain these systems is here, I stated. Complete documentation, contingency procedures, security protocols. The problem isn't the documentation, Baker interrupted. The problem is that Novatech's platform isn't compatible with the specialized systems this hospital relies on. I pulled up my second document, a detailed comparison I'd prepared overnight. These are the hospitals where Novatech has implemented their platform. Notice anything? Dr. Ramirez leaned forward. They're all new facilities or recent constructions. Exactly, I said. Novatech functions effectively in hospitals built from the ground up on their platform, but retrofitting their system onto established hospitals with legacy requirements? That's where they struggle. I turned to face Baker directly, which Novatech knew before they arrived here. Their own technical specifications, which I've highlighted, reveal incompatibilities with our pharmacy and radiology systems. The board members exchanged glances. Dr. Vance turned to Baker. Did you know about these incompatibilities when you recommended Novatech? Baker's confidence wavered. The assessment indicated that any transition challenges would be minimal. An assessment you personally oversaw, I interrupted, displaying an email I'd received from a former colleague. The same assessment where you directed staff to highlight system vulnerabilities and downplay stability metrics. The room fell silent. I hadn't come for revenge, but for truth. The fact is, I continued, St. James cannot function on Novatech's platform without sacrificing the specialized workflows that make this hospital exceptional, not without years of careful transition planning. Dr. Vance looked at her colleagues. I believe we've heard enough to make an informed decision. Baker stood up. You can't seriously be considering abandoning modernization based on the opinion of a disgruntled former employee. Dr. Ramirez spoke up. We've diverted 72 emergency patients in the past week. First surgeries were delayed. Medicine administration errors increased by 15%. Those aren't opinions, Director Baker. Those are facts. The board voted 20 minutes later. The Novatech contract would be terminated immediately, and an emergency restoration plan would be implemented to reinstate the previous systems. As I packed up my laptop, Dr. Vance approached me. The board has another proposition for you, Lewis. If you're willing to hear it. I glanced at Baker, defeated by the door. I'm listening, I said. 3 weeks later, I walked through the hospital's main entrance wearing a new identification badge, Lewis Crowley, Chief Technology Officer. The recovery hadn't been easy. The Novatech team had made significant alterations before their departure, corrupting key databases. My new team, a blend of former colleagues and fresh talent, had worked around the clock restoring systems, rebuilding interfaces, and recovering data. Baker was gone, pursuing other opportunities, according to the official announcement. I hadn't requested his removal, but I wasn't sorry to see him go. I visited the nurses' station in cardiology, where Nurse Garcia offered a wide smile. Systems are running perfectly again, she exclaimed. Patient records load in under 1 second. Good to hear, I replied. Any other issues? Not since you returned. Night and day difference. As I continued my rounds, Dr. Ramirez joined me. Heading to the board meeting? He asked. I nodded. Quarterly technology review, I confirmed. First one with you at the head table instead of standing in the corner with a slideshow, he noted. We entered the boardroom, where hospital leadership was assembling. Dr. Vance, now interim director, nodded to me. Mr. Crowley, we're eager to hear your department's report. I connected my laptop to the projector. On the screen appeared a simple dashboard showing system performance, uptime statistics, and comparative metrics from before and after the Novatech debacle. Recovery is complete, I announced. All systems restored with no data loss. We've implemented additional safeguards against similar disruptions in the future. Dr. Vance studied the metrics. And the modernization initiatives Director Baker was so concerned about? I changed slides to reveal my 5-year technology roadmap, a meticulous, measured plan for evolving our systems without compromising patient care. Real modernization, I stated, doesn't replace what works, it builds upon it. The board unanimously approved the plan. 6 months later, I sat on my back patio with a cup of coffee, enjoying the sunset. My phone buzzed with a text from Jennifer Walsh at City Central. Heard St. James received the Regional Excellence in Healthcare Technology Award. Congratulations, almost colleague. I smiled and replied, thanks. Sorry for the last-minute career change. No hard feelings. You were where you needed to be. She was right. I belonged at St. James, though not in the same inconspicuous role I'd occupied for 15 years. As CTO, I now had a voice in decisions affecting patient care. I had a seat at the table where I could defend the systems that truly mattered. The hospital had learned a valuable lesson, in the hard way. Experience couldn't be replaced with buzzwords, and loyalty couldn't be dismissed as outdated. I scrolled through my photos to one taken at last week's staff appreciation dinner. My team standing together, a mix of veterans and newcomers, each contributing valuable perspectives. The plaque on the table recognized our department's contribution to patient care. In the 15 years preceding my dismissal, I'd never been publicly acknowledged for keeping the hospital running. Now, my expertise was visible, respected, and valued. I occasionally thought of Baker, wondering if he'd learned anything from the experience. Last I heard, he'd accepted a position at a healthcare startup promising revolutionary disruption of hospital administration. Some lessons are harder to learn than others. My new identification badge lay on the table beside me. I picked it up, running my thumb across the title, Chief Technology Officer. No longer just the man who kept the lights on, but the man who helped shape the hospital's future. I hadn't sought revenge. I'd sought recognition, not for my ego, but for the undeniable truth that experience matters. That some things cannot be replaced, repackaged, or disrupted without consequences. Sometimes, the most innovative approach is simply respecting what already works.